What up, YouTube? So today we are going to be working on the K24 sw20 mr2. Right now we're going to be getting the motor all prepped up. As you can see, I have two K24 motors here. I was going to run this one, but the oil was kind of, I don't know, they didn't really have good oil changes on this one. So I'll show you guys how it looks. Looks kind of, I don't know, I'm pretty sure the motor's good and everything, but I just didn't want to give this to the customer like this. I'm pretty sure I can put some seafoam and get all that out and make it clean again, but this car might be going boosted, so I don't want to have any possible problems with oil issues at all. So I went ahead and got another one. This is another TSX that's JDM K24. So we're basically going to be stripping it down just like this, because we're not going to be using the water pump housing. Also, we're going to be taking this stud off, because when you put the RSX or EP3 or SI housing, this stud is going to be sticking out way too far, because the bolt only goes to right around here for the housing. So we're taking that off. Intake manifold, we're going to be taking off as well, because we're using the RBC manifold, which is off of the 06 to 11 SI, Civic SI. So that'll be a direct bolt-on for the TSX motor. If you have a K20 head style, you'll have to cut around here, basically cut this off, because this style, basically the SI K24 style, come with the ports on the actual manifold, just like this right here. So it's covered on the actual manifold. On the RSX type, it's actually separate. So other than that, we'll be taking off this power steering, this alternator. Basically, this whole housing right here is all going to be eliminated. We're going to be taking off this, because the Hux mount kit comes with a bracket mount for that. We'll put a new oil filter on here. We'll take the exhaust manifold off. We'll also be taking all the little sensors that come up on here. We'll be using actually the Type S harness, 02 to 04 for this swap. I'm going to be taking off all these hoses. And then I had some people that were kind of confused, I guess, on how I did the heater routing. So we'll be explaining that more maybe in the next video, but I'll show you just for now on this video what I did, so you guys can keep your heaters on your MR2s. As far as AC, everything on that would have to be custom. I'm not sure how to do that, and I haven't done it yet, so that is for that. Other than that, we gotta take this automatic plate off, so we could put our new flywheel and clutch on here. When you're swapping these out, if you don't have your old engine, make sure you don't use these bolts. You need manual bolts. The manual ones are a little bit longer for the flywheel. So I've seen some people try to use this ones, but there's a risk that they could I don't know, potentially come loose. So I wouldn't use it, but just to let you guys know. So right now I'm gonna go ahead and start cleaning up this motor, telling you guys what we're gonna do. So right now the first thing I'll do is probably start taking everything off of here. So it's basically, looks like a 12mm bolt right here. All right, sorry about that, my camera froze up. So gonna be a 12 down here to take off this power steering pump. And then also for the alternator, you got a 12mm here, 12mm here. And then that should get us to the water pump housing, which would be 14 millimeters. And once we take all this off, we'll come back, show you if there's any other extra bolts, but that's basically it. We will be using an SI water pump housing and an SI alternator. And then we'll be using an SI intake manifold, RBC manifold. So later we'll be taking off the intake manifold. Those are all 12 millimeters as well. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them you got to take off. You're gonna most likely have to disconnect some of these hoses as well. We won't be using none of this setup anyway, so we'll be deleting all this. Like I said, I'm gonna take off this hose. We're not gonna be using a lot of the stuff that we're not gonna be using. I'll be taking apart. So I'm gonna go ahead and start knocking some of this stuff out, and then we'll come back. All right, so now that we're back, just wanted to show you and go over what I did so far. So we disconnected the power steering pump, we took off the alternator, and we basically unloosened the 4 bolts that hold down this water pump housing. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take off this intake manifold, the first half, not the whole thing. Well, for now we're gonna just take off the first half so we can access all the water or heater hoses and thermostat right here, because we're not gonna be using that right now. We might be using the K20 Z3 SI, so we're gonna be swapping everything over anyway, so it's just easier to take all this off so we can get to that. And then there's a bolt, I believe, right here. Well, once we get the manifold, half manifold off, I'll show you guys. But other than that, yeah, there's a couple other things. So I got to take off this harness as well, so I'm gonna go ahead and start taking off this harness, take off this first half of the manifold so we can get to the water pump housing and hoses, and then we'll come back and see what we're gonna do next. All right, so now we got the water pump housing off. I got the old AC bracket off. That little flywheel plate is off as well. And then so I took off the hoses. There's 2 hoses connected to the manifold to take off the first half with throttle body, and then there's the brake booster hose up here, and then the PCV hose. So yeah, I got the harness off. Now as far as the harness, they're just clips, so you just literally clip them off. I have to take off the coil packs, VTEC, oil pressure, your VVT, solenoid or VTC, and then your crank sensor. So I got that all off, and on this side, the cam sensors you need to take off, and then your temperature sensor, and injectors as well with the ground. So that was basically the old harness that's all cut that we're not going to be using, because we're going to be using the Type S harness. So the next thing we're going to be doing now, since we're going to be running a RBC manifold, we're also going to have to take this off as well, and we're going to be taking this off. We don't have to replace this with the CRV bracket on the SW20s, but on the Spiders you do have to get the CRV bracket. So we'll be taking this off, taking the rest of the manifold off, and we will be getting ready to slap on the flywheel and new clutch, and then we'll go from there. But right now we'll just go ahead and start taking these things off so we can get this thing fully stripped down to what we need to start putting everything back together. All right, so now that we are back, everything is stripped down that we needed to take off to get ready to drop this motor into the MR2. So now what we're going to be doing, we're going to be starting with our clutch and flywheel, brand new. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to put some red Loctite on the flywheel bolts, because these like to vibrate, and they've happened to me before, so it saves you a lot of work to make sure that you do put Loctite on that. So we'll throw that on there. And then since this is a JDM motor and most of them are automatic, don't forget to put your pilot bushing in here for your clutch, just to make sure, because a lot of people might forget about that. And then yeah, so also when you're installing your flywheel, make sure you do a star pattern sequence on that and tighten it down to around, I do like 85 pounds of torque. And then we're gonna go ahead and do the clutch as well, which is these, and I'm gonna use blue Loctite on these just to make sure that nothing happens to them as far as the rotation, because there's a lot of vibrations in the clutch. After that, we will be installing the transmission, which is right here, Synchrotech, rebuilt not too long ago, and LSD. If you guys don't know what LSD looks like, just make sure you can actually see through it in case someone tries to rip you off. If it's non-LSD, it'll have like a bar going through it, so you won't be able to see through it as good. So I'll let you know on that. That lets you know if you have LSD or not. Also, this is a 5-speed EP3 02 to 05 transmissions, and the way you can tell they're 5-speed is because they don't have a 6-gear lockout. So yeah, and this is the code number, just so you guys can see that. So we're gonna go ahead and start putting this motor and transmission together, and then next thing we'll do is start getting to the RBC manifold. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock this out real quick and we'll come back. All right, so now we are back. Our transmission is connected with our new clutch and flywheel. We got our RBC manifold installed, and we got our water pump housing with alternator. We're still gonna need the idler pulley, and then I gotta get another pulley for the tensioner, but I just wanted to kind of get this on so we can see how and what we need to do in order to get the K24 basically prepped. I threw a new oil filter on here, and right now what we're gonna do to kind of finish up this video, we're gonna cut this off right here. So when you're doing an MR2, the bracket you're gonna have to do is cut this off right here. So when you put the new bracket on, this will be in this weight is actually gonna be in the way. So we're gonna cut that off. And then also this bolt right here on K24s needs to be taken out. So I mean, this is all gonna come back off anyways, but you got to take this bolt off and then just put like a 14 with the actual stud on it. And then other than that, we're gonna be swapping this out too as well, because the one for MR2 needs to be kind of more down, but we'll do that on the next video. Other than that, half shaft is gonna be put on. It's 3 14mm bolts, and after that we'll come back, show you how it looks, and get ready for the next video for when we'll be dropping this motor in, and hopefully wiring it all up. So we'll go ahead and knock that out real quick, real fast, and then we'll come back and then show you how it looks. All right guys, so we are back and cleaned it up a little bit. Still gonna pressure wash it a little bit more once we drop the motor into the MR2, but as you can see, this is all chopped off and ready to go. I got the half shaft on there. On K24s, only the taper bolt goes on the top. The other two, the one from the bottom and the one on the side, doesn't. To let you guys know that. Other than that, that's basically gonna conclude today's video. Tomorrow we should be hopefully dropping the motor in, so we can start working on getting the wiring done, fuel, and finishing up. We got to finish up the pulley kit, and also finish up our well, we'll be going through the heater hoses and everything later on in the next video as well too. So if you haven't, like, share, subscribe, comment, let me know what you guys think. If you want to hit me up on Instagram, it's KSeriousWorks. Also, you can hit me up on my Gmail, which is honda.mike1988@gmail.com, and I'll see you guys next time.